Collecting the cards.
We know, of course, that there's a great deal of connection between Luca and Harun, but how do you conceive of these two novels in particular as part of kind of your larger oeuvre?
I don't know, really. I mean, I think it's not for me to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see them as clearly related to each other.
Yes.
You know, and I wouldn't mind somewhere down the road having a single volume edition of them. Mm-hmm. You know, because I think in the way that when people read, I mean, probably my favorite children's books of all time are the two Alice books. And I mean, I just admire them immensely. And you know, you always get Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass together. And actually, I thought a lot about Lewis Carroll writing Through the Looking Glass when I was writing this book, because I thought how hard it must have been 7 years after Alice's Adventures in Wonderland to have tried to write a second book. Mm-hmm. Because what had happened in that period was that book had already become fabulously loved, you know, and the follow that problem, you know, was very great. It must have been awful for him to think, well, I don't want to write a book where everybody says, well, the first one was good, but this one, yeah, you know, and actually harder for him, because in what had happened in those 7 years was that Alice, of course, had grown up. The real Alice, Alice Liddell, had grown up, so she wasn't a little girl anymore. And also he had been estranged from the family, so he really wasn't seeing her, you know. So he has to write that second book out of the memory of Alice, you know, not out of her presence there. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for me, because actually I had a boy sitting there, right, you know, that I could write it for. But I've always thought there's a beautiful, I mean, I have a little acrostic dedication at the beginning of this book, 5 lines, which are the initial letters of my son Milan's name. Lewis Carroll has a much longer acrostic, which is a poem with the whole of Alice's full name, Alice Pleasance Liddell, and a long poem divided into 3-line verses. And there's a line in it which I've always remembered where he's talking about her, and he says, still she haunts me phantom-wise, Alice moving under skies never seen by waking eyes. And I thought, you know, that's what he had to do. He was haunted by her. You know, he's writing out of the memory of a girl who he can't forget. You know, and he pulled it off. You know, he managed to make a second book which was the equal of the first. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love those books so much. I said it somewhere the other day that I can recite the whole of Jabberwocky and the whole of The Walrus and the Carpenter if you ask, and even if you don't ask, actually. So I mean, you know, I just thought there's a target. You know, try and be half as good as that. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you certainly exceeded that. I do have some questions from the audience now, and so if I could, the first, Mr. Rushdie, will you recite Jabberwocky? No, I'm just kidding.
Twas brillig. You want me to do it?
Well, no, well, it's up to you. It's up to you.
No, go on.
So the first question, many authors say they get inspiration by talking to ordinary people. Has your fame cut you off from this part of this world that might otherwise offer some of the richest material for a writer?
I don't know, you all look pretty ordinary to me.
Next question. Toronto the Good goes away for about 5 minutes. Next question?
Next question.
Next question, okay then.
No, the answer is no.
The answer is no. Okay, good.
Or at least I don't think so.
I have a lot of questions about Indian policy matters here. Okay, here's one. Are you sticking around to see your friend Mr. Hitchens debate Mr. Blair? And who do you think will win the debate? This person's money is on Mr. Hitchens.
Oh, well, you always back Christopher to win any fight, you know. But I think the problem with that debate is that I'm sure they'll be on opposite sides for the sake of the evening. Mm-hmm. But in fact, Christopher really likes Tony Blair. Mm-hmm. You know, and that might mean that no, it doesn't mean that he'll pull his punches. He'll just attack twice as hard. But Blair is, you know, Blair can keep his end up. No, I'm not sticking around, but it sounds like fun.
Okay, how about, this is a quotation, in this loveless world it may be that it's wiser to dream than to awake. Dear Mr. Rushdie, do you personally believe these words you have written?
Don't remember them. When did I say that? God, this
There's
is
no
tough. It's really, I'm not kidding. It's the trouble with having written too many books, is that